Hello and welcome back to and for this installment, it's just going to be myself. I don't think I've got it yet. I think it's me. It's me and I have to remember that you only say "and I" if you were to imagine something following it. I'm sorry. I'm still recovering from the madness that is COVID. I have or whatever, and it's left me feeling rather. I had several days of fatigue that left me not wanting to go to bed, save for the unfortunate last which on that, obviously. Some good news though, my sense of taste and smell were spared, and I did not get horrific that some people get that weird that they swallow roses. But I did get a cough, and the cough still lingers long after. So it was my first COVID too. So I at some point convinced myself that I was actually immune because I just never got it, but it was this variant. So this weekend, 2020, go over not just our favorites, which Rachel and I have both shared on our respective platforms. I believe she shared hers. I didn't know. Actually, was a fun fact video garnered more views than I posted. 1,000 views. 4 days? 4 days? Pretty impressive. Very well after your bad job. The video seems to work with the algorithm, so I'm just attributing it to that, but nonetheless, it's great to have that many views. We're going to take a look at the chat here and see who's dropped by. The dragons. Elite says won't be able to follow live, but tomorrow. Well, it's understandable. We have a much later one here, and yeah, it's no. Oh. So I'm not using the mic at the moment. I'm just letting you know I'm trying to fix the mic here. So I'll be right with you. Sorry about that, folks. Apparently I was indecipherable for a long period of time. Hold on a second. Okay, can folks hear me okay? Okay, great. I see Rachel backstage. I'm going to bring her in. So I was rambling on for a good while about the fact that I had my first bout of COVID in almost the 4 years since the pandemic started. So with all that sort of garbling and stuff, that's what I was discussing. So right now I'm about 95%. I still have a lingering cough and a bit of fatigue still, but at the worst of it, I was barely able to get out of bed. I would have these little bursts of energy, but then I would have to lie down and forget that the world exists for the majority of the day. My sense of taste and smell were thankfully spared. I did not have any effect to the wonderful. Thank you, Nuit Jonquille. Nuit Jonquille, thank you so much. I'm glad that you can hear me clear. I haven't seen you in a chat before, so thank you so much for joining us. So, yes, COVID hit me just hard enough for me to be completely sapped of my energy. I took some time off of work. It was mostly a really unrelenting cough that I'm still getting. I still have remnants of it, and tummy troubles. Won't get into any more detail about that. Unfortunate bathroom visits, and headaches and body aches, which I still have headaches and body aches, and it's been a week since I've gotten better. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to have long haul COVID though. I think each day I am getting a little bit better. So yeah, I had my first COVID. That's what happened right around Christmas time in through New Year's. So yeah, so Rachel is going to be joining me in just a second. We are going to be doing a 2023 year in review. We're going to be going over some of our honorable mentions that that are outside of our respective top 10s. Rachel had announced hers on Instagram and also on Sauf Le Bon. And I announced mine on my most recent video, top 10 fragrances of 2023, which I think just because it was labeled as such, it became one of my fastest growing videos, if that makes sense. It was it already garnered 1,000 views within 3 days, which is far faster than any video that I've ever done. And I mostly just attributed that to the fact that it was just labeled as such, and that's what attracts viewers, which is great. Got a lot of subscribers from it, a lot of views. I don't know if I want to just keep doing top 10s just for the sake of it, but I'm getting a handle of what the YouTube algorithm is expecting, but I'm not going to dilute my content just for the sake of it. All right, we're going to get to the chat here. I see Pat Lester. Great to see you here. We have Claire. Wonderful to see you as well. Yes, I'm a living in a box. I'm a living in a cardboard box. Yes, I did choose that. Thank you so much. I am on the mend though. I'm at about 95%. You can still kind of hear it. I kind of have like sort of like a deep husky kind of sound of my voice and a deep husky cough every now and then. Yes, I don't want to keep her waiting. Why even keep her waiting at all? Like it's 10 past. Why don't we bring her in? Rachel, hi.
Hi, JJ. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so happy that you're getting better. I've had COVID 4 times now since I'm a public school teacher. It's it's everywhere, and it's terrifying, And I'm glad you're getting over it. That's the most important part.
Yeah, I'm fortunate that I did not get a really serious case of it. I didn't do Paxlovid, but I managed to get through it. I think I was sick for like a good 10 days or so.
Yeah.
But yeah. The thing that I was most worried about is, being a fragrance enthusiast, losing my sense of smell, because I'm sure you've heard a lot of the stories from our fellow enthusiasts of losing their sense of scent and then having to wait a very long time for it to, completely resume, to return to its full form. And I was just so happy that throughout all my sickness, I could still smell perfumes. I could still taste my food. So I'm very grateful for that. Pat Lester just mentioned here that his scent of the day is raw. He has a sample and he does enjoy it in the cold, moggy weather. And ooh, celebrations. How did that happen? Why does that happen on our streams at random? I love it though. I have no control over it. It just happens capriciously. I love it. So we decided we're going to talk about our favorite content creators of the past year too, maybe new discoveries and stuff. I only have one in mind for YouTube, and it was already a guest of ours, but I have several from Instagram, so I'm going to rely more on you for maybe YouTube discoveries.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that as well. So why don't we get started with honorable mentions? So we had our top 10s. We had some good stuff in our top 10s, but there were some things that didn't quite reach the top 10 that I think are worthy of mentioning. And I wanted to start off with having you share some of yours that didn't quite reach the top 10, but you feel like they have a lot of merit to them and you're quite fond of them. So we'd love to hear your honorable mentions.
So, and you mean for the creators or for fragrances?
For fragrances first.
For
yeah,
fragrances.
let's start with fragrances. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So, for example, some of mine, and it's so hard because honestly, hi Bilbo. So, like when I was making my top 10 list this year for fragrances, my true top 10 was actually like top 18. Like if I could have extended it, honestly, it would have been that many because there were so many great releases, in my opinion, this year. So like, for example, Roque, which I think JJ, you had in your top 10. Just because it came out so late in the year, I think I hadn't spent enough time with it for to make my top 10, even though I immediately recognized that, wow, this is stunning. It's a beautiful work of art. But I would say Roque. I would say Eris's Delta of Venus, which is so unique and just so well made. Those are two, for example. How about two of yours?
I have Delta of Venus here. I have, this is a pretty good amount. I guess this can be considered a full bottle.
Yeah.
It's my honorable mention as well because it is the best rendering of guava in a fragrance. I find that guava seems to be a challenging one for perfumers, and I was really struck by how well done it is in Delta of Venus, and also the fact that it was a tropical fruit fragrance that I actually gravitated to, and there are not many others. I love Calyx, the classic from the 80s. And this kind of has a similar feel to it, but it also has the signature characteristics of Antoine Lee, which I find just really wonderful and present in a lot of his work, and that he's able to sort of render a certain, like, it's kind of like a bridge between realism and surrealism, sort of, as it could be perfumistic and have a sense of realism, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think he's really good at that. And also it's really evident in his style that he has much fondness for classical perfumery, but is able to sort of bridge classical perfumery with more modern approaches. And I think that this is an excellent example of that with Delta of Venus. That didn't sound right the way it came out, but I said it right. Delta of Venus. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
I think I did it sort of like apostrophe there. Delta of Venus. This is definitely an honorable mention for me. And I know this was in your top 10, but for me, this is an honorable mention because another one of his ended up in my top 10, and that's Darren Allen. His Doreen Fougere was in my top 10.
So good.
Another formidable talent in the indie realm. I really think that he deserves so much more attention, and his ability to execute these just seamless compositions. It's just really incredible that what he is able to do, and has such a firm footing in how to put together these accords. And the honorable mention, which was in your top 10, is Jonquille. I have this bottle of Jonquille here, and I find it to be a really just so vibrant and full of life type of Narcissus jonquil kind of scent. But there's more to it than that. I wanted you to, if you would be so kind, to sort of extrapolate a little bit on your experience with Jonquille.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a beautiful fragrance. And it actually, it's one of the rare fragrances that brought back a memory. Some fragrances can actually make you relive something that you've experienced in your lifetime. And it brought me back to planting flowers with my mom when I was really young. And it's a beautiful, it's like a chypre with like yellow flowers, but also it's really stunningly green as well. So it brought me back to this kind of very early spring morning. And then it has this kind of really femme kind of musk to it as well for me. And so it's got the jonquil, it's got the narcisse, it has a beautiful green aspect to me, as well as this really cool kind of musk. to it, and it's just so lovely. I mean, it really is. It really reminds me of laying on the grass in the springtime, where you can just smell those flowers, and like it reminded me specifically of I had dandelions, and I had jonquil flowers, and I had made them because like when you're a little kid, at least I used to do this. I don't know if kids do it anymore, but you can make a necklace, like a garland, by
Yeah.
splitting a cut in the stem, and then you loop the other flower stem through it, and you can make like a chain, like a daisy chain kind of a thing. And I remember I had done that with the daffodils, and I was kind of wearing them around my neck, and then I had a bouquet of another bouquet of the jonquils, and that's just what I like immediately remembered is just lying there on the grass, like and my mom is there, and it's just like this beautiful spring day, and it just brought me right there. And there's a touch of earth to me too in the fragrance, so it's like really like gardening to me.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool because it has sort of like this translucency to it as well. Like all the elements in it are able to sort of breathe. It's not claustrophobic at all. And he has like all the different facets of these flowers as well, including some of the facets that I don't really find often enough in Narcissus or Jonquil sort of fragrances. Now, I believe he uses a lot of the floral absolutes. I think he used both Narcissus absolute and Jonquil absolute. So
I think so too.
For some people who are asking, like, well, aren't they one and the same, or are they different? Well, they are in a way, because there are different Narcissus species. So the family of flowers is Narcissus, but you have things like poets Narcissus, Narcissus poeticus, Narcissus tazetta, and I'm forgetting the Latin name for the one that is used for Jonquil absolute. I guess I could just like look it up right now.
I don't remember, sorry. Yeah, you're the expert in this case. JJ knows everything about plants.
I can look it up now as far as like Jonquil absolute. And there are two different ones that are used in perfumery, and they do have different characteristics to them. I mean, of course, there's some similarities because, they're both from the same family of flowers. But poets Narcissus or tazetta or poeticus, it does pull a little bit more into the chrysolic direction as far as, the paracresol acetate, cresols. So that gives you sort of that interesting, peculiar, animalic kind of feel to it, almost sort of horsey-like.
Yeah.
Now, here it's gross out time now, because I'm going to tell you that in horse urine, beautiful perfume. Perfume's beautiful because it has all these things. And horse urine, which does make stables smell the way they do, they're very high in cresol content. So that's why they smell a little horsey, because of cresols. But it isn't, I mean, the cresol, it's not, this is not oppressively cresolic, though. It has just enough to really feel like Narcissus. But I digress. I just rambling.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that, and I'm glad you're being accurate, because it's exactly true. And in my mind, I interpret that as kind of like that. I said that femme muskiness, because that the uric, a little like that, like a female bathroom almost.
On the chemical content of urine,
right? But no, that's exactly. You get that it's an animal thing, but it's very alive, if that makes sense. It's not like poop, right? It's
right.
Something else. Yeah.
And I think we're in good company. I think most of the people tuning into Effluvium are not eluded by this fact that in our world of perfume, we're going to have these, you're only a few steps away from the profane and dirty and depraved and waste.
All things bodily. Yeah, for sure.
The indoles and scatol. So should be nothing new to people. But that's what really gives Narcissus, its characteristic scent. you think of paper whites. Paper whites are really polarizing. Some people love the smell of paper whites, but some people are just repelled by them because that particular scent profile for paper whites is a very high chrysolic content. So I did notice here that Nick S has mentioned, thank you so much, my friend. Yes, it's Narcissus jonquilla. Makes sense. Narcissus jonquilla, the jonquil, the classic jonquil. This is where the ones that, it is where many of our cultivated jonquils that we grow in the springtime originates from. Is this Narcissus jonquilla. Tends to have a larger and fuller and longer coronet in the middle. They come in shades of yellow and orange. So that profile to me is a little bit greener and softer floral, but still holds the elements that a narcissus has. But as far as my knowledge, Darren does use both of them here. And there's something also that I love about it too, that there's like a certain sort of like waxiness, like a floral waxiness though. Like sort of like, it kind of reminds me of the smell of some scented tulips. Yes, there are actually scented tulips. Not all tulips are unscented. There are certain varieties that have this kind of ineffable, hard to describe. I mean, if you were to describe it, maybe a little bit citric, a little bit irisy even, or mimosa-ish that can kind of come from tulips. And especially when you cut them and you let them sit in a vase for a while, that scent really comes out. I can kind of pick up some of that too, even though that might not be an intended note. I kind of sense that as well. At any rate, it's wonderful, people. And Darren Allen is a wonderful perfumer.
Yes. Truly, truly magnificent. Like, because both of us, we both love JJ, and you and I. We both love. Sorry, it's been a long day. We've had in Iowa here. We've had last week we had a school shooting in our suburbs, and then we've had 2 snowstorms. We're having another snowstorm tonight. We're like, school's already canceled for tomorrow. It's been a lot, and we have our state testing, and it's the semester. There's a lot going on. So my brain, I apologize, friends. I'm going to forget a lot of words tonight. My brain is pretty fried. But we what were you saying just now?
So I was just talking about, we were just talking about Darren Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say that we both love vintage fragrances, you and I. And if people in the audience don't already know, something that Darren loves does so beautifully is he's able to create fragrances like as if he was living in 1940 or 1930 or 1920 or 1950 or 60, and working with some of those materials and some of those palettes, and he's able to like create his own version of Delaire bases, but using naturals today, a lot of naturals, and of course some synthetics, of course, but like in a way that's alive and living and so fresh and beautiful. So in my mind, it's kind of like being back then and smelling a fresh vintage, fragrance just made, right? When today, our favorite vintage fragrances, we can really only smell after they've aged quite a while. It's just the nature of what it is, and so he provides fragrances. If you're a vintage person, his fragrances are really unique and really cool and really interesting in that way. Is that you can kind of get that experience of what like a fresh vintage style scent, and a really, really good one with very good materials, could have been like when it's freshly made.
And Darren is an example of somebody who has and employs good materials, but it isn't just about the materials. He knows that it's only so much to have these rare and invaluable natural raw materials. It's one thing to have them, it's one thing to use them, but it's another thing to be able to put them together for a cohesive and compelling composition that can provide a sensation, tell a story, send somebody transport somebody to another time and place. And he's able to do that, and very modestly and very humbly so. His brand is not flashy. His brand doesn't have like fancy marketing and fancy bottles and boxes and all of that. The perfumes, they speak for themselves, And like I said, I just can't say enough about how talented he is. Every single one of his perfumes. Um, I have not, you know, I, everybody knows that I don't hold it, I don't, I don't hold any punches. Like I will say if something needs some work or is poorly done or has some things lacking, I can be critical. I think it's important to have these checks and balances. I don't think for the longest time I was afraid of doing it because I was afraid of being seen as a bully or negative or you know or it just was like not putting enough. I think I was actually a victim of toxic positivity for a while.
Mm.
Thinking
Mm-hmm.
I had to only have positive reviews. And I think it's important to also have critical reviews. But I digress. What I'm saying is for each and every one of the fragrances that I have experienced of Darren's, there hasn't been the need to give more critical feedback. Each one of them, even if they don't speak to me personally, are just so well done. Let's go look at the chat very quickly again. Doesn't need to be that quickly. I'm still like dealing with COVID, and I'm not COVID, but like just like the aftermath of it. I'm still like I'm like a space cadet, so we're in good company here, Rachel. Jonquillescent, I logged into the wrong account earlier. Sent to the day Arabi. Oh, that's who you were. Were you Nuit Jonquille? Was that you? And I didn't realize it was you. Okay. Now I realize it wasn't a new person, but it's lovely to see you, Mishi. I hope to somehow explore errors this year. Claire says, I suspect the first strain of COVID was worse on the senses. Yeah, probably so. Yeah. And yes, there's a lot of people who speak highly of Antoine Lee, and I think it is well deserved. I'm not going to say that I've been blown away by every single one of his compositions, but he's one of those where a sizable amount of them I've been impressed with, and I've enjoyed enough to add his works to my collection. And Claire also asks, does anyone know if Antoine Lee created Le Jardin de Monsieur Lee for Hermès? Now, I think Monsieur Lee was that Ellena? Ellena? Or was it? I think that was the last one that Ellena did, as far as I know, before. My God, I am like blanking. Who took over for Ellena? Hi.
Oh, the woman who he.
Woman, yes.
Yes. Who he mentored. Yes.
God, we're having such a tough time. Our brains are fried.
Right. Yes.
What is her name? Somebody
did.
He's gonna mention it. It's so bad. Excuse me. Okay. Well, for those of you who know,
normally I would know this. They're just my brain is so exhausted. It's like kind of traumatized, and it's getting back to its normal.
My favorite Galop d'Hermès. Some of hers are not such favorites of mine. Jesus, why am I not remembering the name?
Jardin de Santerre, she just came out with. She did
the rhubarb lady.
Yes, the rhubarb.
She did the rhubarb scent for Hermès, rhubarb declaré.
She did the new men's fragrance, Ash, or what is it called?
Somebody throw us a bone.
With sclerine, with all that sclerine in it.
Nagel. Yes.
Thank you.
This is so bad. Like I'm like, oh, Nagel, and I can't remember.
Christine Nagel.
What is going on with that? Lord have mercy.
You guys are wonderful.
And that sums it up. Donnie, the eyes sum it up. Hey, Micah, good to see you. And Jonquillescent Michi, dying to experience Darren's Jonquille.
It's excellent.
And Claire says sorry about the event near you in Iowa. Having grown up in upstate New York, I so miss the look of snow on the ground. And this year, in the west of UK, where I now live.
I hope you get some snow.
Vintage. That's a good way of it. Vintage yet factory fresh sounds great. Yes, because I've had some recent discussions on Base Notes about vintage collecting and vintage enthusiasm, and some things need to be said. Like as somebody who loves vintage, it's just really challenging It's challenging to just come to terms with the reality that when I'm smelling, especially, considering how old it might be, is not particularly what it was intended to smell like, and you just have to sort of lean into that. Um, Sometimes I can tell when things have been really well preserved, but at other times, you just know that the top notes have faded, and you just know that there's a certain aura that has diminished in vintages. And that's why some people argue against getting too attached to vintages too, because they would just rather experience a fragrance that still has its vitality and vivacity. And like, for example, Sebastian Furtado, who just so happens to be the YouTube person that I was going to mention, who was my favorite YouTube discovery last year. And now we're good friends. He is not a huge vintage enthusiast because of those reasons, but his taste is impeccable. And he definitely loves a more vintage style, but he's not sort of like a vintage fiend, because he has a difficult time with that reality that, vintages do have a tendency not only to be very expensive, but also there's a lot of heartache involved. And you end up finding out that something that you really anticipated does not quite smell like you hoped it would smell. I've had to return a lot. I don't really talk about this a lot, but I've had to return a lot, and I pretty much have to say this isn't what I expected to be. And thankfully for eBay, for all these people who are anti-eBay, when you have PayPal and eBay, you pretty much have protection to say, okay, I'd like to return this. You give it a spray, you're not feeling it, you can return it.
Turned or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've done that a lot. For all the things that I do have, there are a lot of things that I don't have. I bought them and I returned them, got my money back, because it's just it's just sad to hold on to a vintage that is completely turned and faded. Yeah. So factory fresh. That's what's great about Darren. And also a lot of great brands right now that are releasing these fragrances that have that approach, that are turning to the more classical style of the early to mid 20th century. And one of those that was in my top 10 is a prime example of that, and that's from Francesca Deloro, Else. So that one is incredible, and I even mentioned it in my review that it kind of captures that energy that is missing from some of the Guerlains and the Carons that have not really been preserved. And I don't even think, is it okay if I'm just rambling on, Rachel? Like, I don't want to.
No, I'll interrupt when I want to.
But I feel like those bigger houses, there's a lot of, they face a lot of challenges. Like, what is sustainable for the business? Like, we're going to continue to have these legacy fragrances that have been in their collection for, in some cases over a century. How are we going to make them still viable for the consumer? How are we going to convince people to buy these and to buy them in units? Is it really cost effective for us to continue producing this when we know that if we were to keep it as close to what it originally was, or, that people may not buy it because we're in modernity now. People don't want to smell like people smelled in the 1940s. And even, this is another point to you, Rachel, is that like even these, they've been reinvented each decade.
Yeah.
A Shalimar from like the 40s is not the same as a Shalimar from the 70s. And then so on and so forth, because there have been these notions of having to kind of tweak and change just a little bit here and there to kind of make it a little bit more current. So I think that that's why we need to turn to more independent-minded brands if we want to have that authenticity, quote unquote, of what a fragrance did smell at the time.
100%. Yeah. And again, I think that plus the craftsmanship, I just think there was, for lots of reasons, and there's no one simple answer or reason, but there's Christina Gel, yeah. There's lots of reasons why right now in this particular moment in time, as the world works economically now and for various regulatory reasons, etc., you might find better craftsmanship in an independent house or artisanal house than say a brand like a bigger brand. And you know all the reasons why.
Yeah.
And it's not always true, but
Right.
that attention to detail, the quality of materials, the attention to structure, the time, like really taking time to create something gorgeous, detailed, and beautiful, rather than just getting something out for the quarterly cycle, right? There are lots of reasons. So, and again, it's not all 100% true all the time. I mean, there's so many fragrances out there, right? I mean, nothing is guaranteed all the time 100%, but I think this is the case with Darren Allen, where they're just lovely jewels, and we both recommend them.
Yes, for sure. I have another honorable mention. I had 4 total. I think I had 4 total, didn't I? No, did I only have 3? I think I only have 3. Sorry. I have 3.
Okay, I have a couple more. So you go first.
Yeah. I'll do just my 3rd one, and then we'll.
Yeah.
So the next one is from a house. Correct me if I'm wrong, since I'm compromised mentally. I think that is based in Germany, but I could be wrong. It could be Czech Republic. But at any rate, D Sol 2014 is D Sol. That's the name of the house. D Sol, D:sol 2014. This is a newest release from them called Sombra. And this is I fell head over heels for another release of theirs that was really that came out like a few years ago, and that one is called Terum, and I did a review for that last year. And this one is quite nice. This is actually an oud that I can sink my teeth into. That's kind of gross. This is an oud. Let me rephrase that. This is an oud that I don't know. I can warm up to. There you go. That's a better way of putting it.
I like it.
Yeah, yeah. And it has like a very granular quality to it. There is like a certain kind of now I say the word sweetness, but this is not gourmand, but it's like a resinous sweetness to it. But it also feels like this suede-y kind of feel, like a soft, plush kind of suede. It's really marvelous stuff. So I have a sample of it, and a few weeks ago I tried it out, and I'm like, this is some pretty nice stuff. So I figured, okay, this would be my 3rd honorable mention. Honestly, I don't have too many. I didn't sample too many releases last year that didn't end up in my top 10. So that's all I really had.
That's great. And I've heard lots of people really, really well, I won't say that. I'll say the people I really, really respect in the industry, I've heard them saying high praise for that fragrance and the house in general. I have not tried any of their fragrances, but I'm excited to in the future, and they're definitely on my list. But the people, again, that I really look up to and learn from have said wonderful things. So I'm excited to try it.
Yeah. This is not an oud. It is not a barnyardy oud. It is not a cheesy oud. This is kind of more reminds me of burning agar wood chips kind of thing, like the more insect kind of oud.
Cool.
So that has always been more sort of my idea of a good oud anyhow.
Yeah.
I do like some of the barnyardy, cheesy, fungal, over the top kind of stuff, like within reason. But the problem I have with a lot of oud fragrances is just a little bit overdone, and they add too many things like nordlimbinol and the amber woods to it to kind of boost it, and those get kind of grating to me. So we have Sweet Milk in the chat. Hi, Sweet Milk. Great to see you here. He recently bought the discontinued Tom Ford Fougere Platin for $135 on eBay. If the price is too good to be true, as it was a fake. Oh man,
that sucks.
So how did you determine it was a fake? Tell us a little bit more about it. And also, who is making counterfeit Fougere Platin? It wasn't like commercially successful to begin with, so it's just it's fascinating to me how somebody somewhere is making counterfeits of these. Like, it's not like it's like, you know, to
Chanel #5 or
yeah, or it's not like
yeah.
you're thinking like Tom Ford. It's not like it's like Tobacco Vanille or like Rose Prick or something like a big seller, or what's the other one? Lost Cherry. It was Fougere Platin. It was not a big seller for them. It wasn't even on, it wasn't on the market for even that long. It was discontinued pretty quickly. So that's crazy. Tell us a little bit more about it. Um, Thank you for your purchase. Bilbo strikes again. Bilbo is a bad, bad boy. Yeah, I really like this. The Diesel Sombra. It's so nice. It's like and there's like a leathery element to it that, like I said, is kind of like a suede. It isn't like too suede-all kind of suede. It's nice. Sorry. Nick S. Hello. There are some scammers on eBay. Yeah. I remember one time, and it was like I wanted to buy like a vintage opium, and I purchased this was a long time ago actually, and I purchased it off of eBay, and I got it, and it looked kind of suspect, like the screen printing on the box was kind of off. But then when I opened it up, I wish I could dig up the picture. So you know how they kind of print the name on the bottle, like it's kind of like screen printing as well.
Yeah.
Well, it was completely off center from the circle and like crooked, and I'm like,
No. Yeah.
no,
No.
this would not get past quality
Yeah.
control. These are not. They don't get sold when they're like that.
Yeah. Oh.
And eBay, you get if you have PayPal protection, and I sent that bugger back and got my money back right away. And I said, you need to pull all of these off. You need to stop selling them. And then, when you know it, the next day they didn't have anything for sale. So,
Good for you for spotting that.
What's that?
I said, good for you for spotting that. I mean, that's
I mean, I could have had my contact lenses out and would have spotted. I mean, anybody. It was so glaring. It was so obviously like a fake. It was so ridiculous. And it smelled like really like I sprayed it once too, just to see like what the hell would this even smell like. And honestly, it smelled like very faint, very like as if like they got like some sort of fragrance oil, like opium fragrance oil, and diluted it in alcohol, and it was super faint. It was like a faint smell of it.
Okay, so yeah, definitely not.
It was totally like a knockoff. So Sweet Milk says, I had a 5 ml decant that I had used over a 5-month period. They smell different when compared. Mm-hmm. We got to see pictures of this bottle, because I think it's just so fascinating when these people do counterfeits of fragrances that are not even big sellers. I wonder if like maybe it was popular in like a certain location, and they thought it would be a good idea to. I don't really know. I don't get it.
And I even wonder if it's even as easy as like they find some bottle with like 5% left and just pour in some perfumer's alcohol and then try. Do you know what I mean? Like try to sell it as full. I mean, even crap like that. I bet people would do almost anything, for a little scam here and there.
Or if they have an ability to open the bottle and fill it with something else, like jiggery pokery, and they open the bottle up and fill it with some sort of swill kind of juice.
Yeah. Oh, and I do have. Go ahead.
At Five Below, and then fill the bottle with that. That store Five Below. It's kind of like have like kind of like cheap fragrances there. I was like amused by them. I was in the store the other day. But go ahead. We want to hear more about your.
Oh, I just was gonna say I have a couple more. One is from For the Scent of It, Grand Soleil, which is a great, like, beautiful, like, solar summer floral. But the thing that makes it interesting to me is it's combined with frankincense, with olibanum, to give this really, and it's beautiful. It's not too heavy. I was worried it would be too heavy, but it's not. It's this beautiful, like, very lifting, kind of meditative, solar, beachy, interesting kind of thing that I really loved. And I really love, and I think you can really wear it year round because it gives us great warmth and lift and brightness and happiness that you just need sometimes, but it also works well in the heat. And then I loved Les Indémodables Patchouli Noisette because I thought it was, I love the way they work with materials. Speaking of materials and respecting the supply chain and being ethical, and then cool new material, uh, respecting an older material all together. I thought that was just really cool, and it smells nice, and yeah.
Right.
So
Nice, nice. I haven't had a chance to smell that one. However, for the scent of it, Grand Soleil, I didn't realize that was released last year. So now that I think I just forgot, I mistook it for a 2022 release.
very beginning of the year, yeah.
So I'll throw that in as the fourth honorable mention because
Perfect.
I'm really impressed with that one as well. And we had the house perfumer for the scent of it on one of our Effluvium streams this past.
Michael.
Yeah, Michael is wonderful. And I actually was just chatting with Michael a couple of days ago, and we'll be inviting him back this spring. We're going to be doing so with Effluvium. We're going to start kind of like we went through the whole cycle of like all the possible people that we could have like as panelists, and now I want to kind of just start bringing some of our favorite panelists from the past come this spring. So
Awesome.
One of them. Yeah.
Back so great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really kind guy, very knowledgeable. Another one who's another indie perfumer talent that definitely deserves more attention. And another would be Anjali as well.
Yes.
Anjali Perfumes, another one that definitely needs more attention.
Yeah, her Under the Mango Tree was in my top 10. It's just
that's great.
It's so great.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites of hers. Oh, Bilbo.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, did you have any other honorable mentions?
I think I've been through all mine. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. There you have it, folks. I'll list mine again. So my honorable mentions were Eris Parfums Delta Venus, Arenal and Jonquille, and Disol Sombra, and the fourth one for the scent of it, Grand Soleil. Those are my honorable mentions. Please take note, or I'll put it in the description. All right, Sweet Milk says Chapter 3 should be coming out within the next month. And we're going over numbers. Who's been buying subscribers? Who hasn't? This one, I love it. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I know who's been buying their subscribers because the numbers have been increasing at exponential levels, and there's just no way that people could use. There's no way that a channel can attract that kind of traction in such a short period of time. A, given the quality of the content, B, given the timeline, and C, it just doesn't work that way. You really have to have viral videos for that to work, and none of the videos in the past, few weeks and months were not viral. They didn't attract that enough viewers and stuff. So, thank you for all the work that you do, Sweet Milk. Tell There Will Be Ashes that I say hi. My good friend, There Will Be Ashes. I wonder if he's tuned in. Claire, you've had some great guests. Thank you very much. I'm going to be working on having a few more. I have to talk to Saskia Wilson-Brown of Olfact, the Institute of Art and Olfaction. I'm hoping to have her pretty soon. I'm also talking to Sam, my World of Fragrances. Ooh, look at this. Is it like, what is it about? Like, StreamYard just thinks it's a time for you to celebrate. Like,
yes. I love Sam. She's on my list of my World of Fragrances. She's on my list of top YouTubers.
Oh, great. Well, then we can, I guess, now's as good a time as any to just segue into your top YouTubers. Let's hear it from you.
All right. So, do you want me just to start the first couple, or?
Just let's have you run through all of them because I only have one anyways.
Oh, okay.
I already knew Sam. Everybody else that I watch, was not a new discovery, really.
They have to be new discoveries? Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay, there's no rules. Just mention the one I'm watching.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it because I just listed my top 10 YouTubers. This is the first time I've ever done this, so for me.
Well, let's just put it this way: you were watching them a lot in 2023, so that counts.
Yeah. So I put my first that I put down was Persolaise because it's Persolaise. Although I discovered Perslaze a few years ago. I have Chris or Sam at My World of Fragrances, who I adore. I have an actual new discovery this year is a lady named Chris from the Fragrance Nest, who I really like because she kind of follows and gets into fragrances that I normally don't, that are very like very popular fragrances, you know, very especially very gourmand and very like at the kind of the part of the world that I need to know more about. And so, and she does that really well, and she's really good at it. And she's super nice and just really smart. Then there is, I have Mr. Smelly 1977 because he's one, you know, such a fun channel that we have both been on as guests. I have our wonderful pair, Duck and Ramsey, that are a force. I have Dacup, right? Who Dacup does more than just fragrance. Dacup does a whole like world, but I think his fragrance content is really unique enough to say for me. Like I really look forward to it. Top 10, you know, kind of a thing. I have Eugene or Eugen. His channel, which I mean, he does, his content is more, is not as regular as it used to be, but it's still fantastic. I have Alex, who's the Perfume Temple, Alex. I have, well, those are Instagram. I'll skip those. I have Margie in charge. And again, she kind of has taken a pause from her YouTube activities, but I still think what she has out is wonderful. And then I have Rudy.
Yes.
And that's my top 10 for right now.
Time to musk up. Yes. And congratulations to Rudy. He's definitely getting a huge following on Instagram too.
Yeah.
And I like that he's no BS. That's what I like about him. He is no BS. He, you know, he doesn't try to gussy it all up. He just knows what he likes and describes it very effortlessly. And he's a curator. He knows. He has. I think he knows what's up. So I really like Rudy. My one discovery of 2023 was Sebastian Furtado. He was a great guest, and I love. Pardon me. I just love the ambience of his videos, the pace of them, the quiet thoughtfulness.
Yeah,
describes things, and just always a joy to watch his videos. So he was my favorite discovery of 2023, hence why I invited him onto Effluvium. And we're going to be doing some collaborating in the future as well. We've been talking about that. But to just kind of do, you know, on the fly, do what you did. I've been watching videos lately, especially you know, I'm looking back at 2023, you know, Pep, the Sentinel.
Yes.
Henna has done some great videos. Canadian.com. Those two, I should look at my YouTube. Like I should actually just look, because I didn't prepare this for just like people who I've been watching generally, but I could just like see, because there's some interesting ones too that I kind of discovered sort of out of the blue as well. While I'm doing this, it would be interesting to hear. Hi, Dusan. How are you? It's great to have you here.
Dusan, it's so nice to see you.
Yes. Let's see.
And then so too, and I'll just throw out two Instagram, because I wish these two Instagrams, I wish they were YouTubes. And they're honestly my two insider secret tips that not a lot of, okay, one of them probably a lot of people know, but the other one maybe not a lot of people know, but I genuinely learned so much, and I think more people should follow this person. Okay, his name is Olivier David. He's an organic chemist. He's a writer for Nay, and he works for the Osmotech. And it's just his name on Instagram, Olivier David. He's this French guy, but he writes in English often, and he just talks about the most amazing, amazing things in fragrance that I'm just like, whoa. And I just think he's so informative and kind and cool and awesome. And then there's Fliss Sniffs, Fliss. We all you know Fliss, yeah. A guest here, yeah. I love her Instagram. She's so thoughtful and has so many good warm heart moments. She's just such a cool person, and I kind of wish Fliss had her own. I mean, I know they do the podcast, but I wish maybe she had her own YouTube interview show or something. And I wish Olivier David did educational classes. But they're great Instagrams to follow.
She's actually on my list for favorite Instagrammers. I'd love to hear more from her. I love that she does Les Odorants, but man, she could just do a podcast on her own and listen to her for an hour or two, for sure. And what I like about her is that she's very what's the word I'm looking to describe? I don't want to say she exposes a certain vulnerability that makes her more human. She shares some of her personal life, but not in a way that is excessive. She's not unloading her baggage in the public, but she shows some of her personality and her emotion and her her reality as a wife and a mother, and what she shares about her family is just resonates so much with me. And I love that that's interwoven in her discussion in Perfume, that it is not simply just her talking about fragrance, but she's talking about how it relates to her life and how it sort of integrates into everything.
She's a real person. I mean, just like JJ, this show, you are a real person reaching out to us with your thoughts and feelings on art. And Fliss does the same thing. And it's not a scammer. It's not an influencer trying to tell you something. It's a real person sharing their real lived experience. And it's special within this context of basically advertising.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. She's the exact opposite of somebody who is all about the aesthetic and all about, following numbers and following followers and trying to get endorsements and being an influencer. She's sort of like an anti-influencer. She's just another person like all of us who has a great appreciation for perfume. And I think that for many of us for those of us who can, for every person who consumes that kind of content, of which there is a lot, the kind of content where it's the influencer and it's always the flavor of the month kind of fragrances and bottles that have been received as part of a sponsorship or whatever. There's a lot of people out there who make great content who don't have that approach, and they're just a joy to read or to listen to. And there's some great ones, Fliss is one of them on my list. Another one is loveisascent. Oh, wow. Just so classy, so tasteful, so thought-provoking. I love the Instagrammers who, it's almost like they're, it's almost like they're using it as a blog, and I love that. It's sort of just visiting their blog, which I would totally, if they have a blog or a Substack or something, I would just go to that. But there's some that I have, I make sure to get notifications as soon as they post. And I love how in the morning they come up. There's Love is a Scent, noseinrose. Wow.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, you should follow. She's wonderful. Such insight, so well written. Just she ponders so many different things, just the intersection between scent and society, scent and culture, scent and history, scent and personal experience, and just so good. That's another one. Noseinrose. I mean, just an impressive collection of fragrances, but she's not boastful about it. And she's really down to earth about it too. That's another great one. I have my list over here. I was so prepared. Why do I have my list way over here? Love is a Scent, noseinrose. Another one, muskymaven.
Yeah.
She's great. And I love her most recent posts. She has combined scenes from cinema with a perfume. So combining the two.
Yeah.
That's so clever. It's ingenious. Wonderful. My good friend, We Are Sentient.
Yes, I was just gonna. That's my next one on my list.
Yeah.
So same, yeah.
Descriptive, enthusiastic, the sweetest guy you'll ever talk to, and just genuine. All to run into his posts. Another
such a great writer. Yeah.
Really great writer. Really great with his description, and he has a really good nose for what he what he's doing. And
yeah.
And David is on my list as well. Olivier David.
Oh, cool, nice.
We've had a mutual appreciation for what each other does, and I mean, I'm humbled by that because he is an organic chemist and he's worked with perfume, and he is a writer for me, but just has exquisite taste as well. So those were my 5 that I chose: Love is a Scent, muskymaven, noseinrose, We Are Sentient, Olivier David 33. Oh, wouldn't that be 33? Those are my favorite Instagrammers right now. Besides, of course, we had to leave each other out. That's what we agreed.
Yes, of course.
in the list. All right. Bye, Dusan. Does anyone else? Oh, we were just talking about Sam Boyle. Yeah. Anybody else besides us? We love
her.
She's magnificent. Some people are more fun to watch. I like how you describe that. Yeah. Ellena, yes.
Oh yeah.
He's an old pal of mine. He and I have ever since the earliest days when I was sort of dabbling with integrating perfume writing. We're talking like 2020. He was one of the first people that I started interacting with. So he and I go way back. He's my old pal. His New resolution just got much better. Maybe on your end, probably your connection. We now both look sharper.
What's the name of the Instagram account that gives all the formulas out?
Is it fragrance.drama? Is that?
Yes, yeah. Fragrance.drama. I like them a lot too.
Yep. Yeah, Valentina. Oh, she is wonderful. She posts probably because she's in several hours ahead. So when I wake up in the morning, I open up Instagram. She's always the first post, and I'm always eager to look at and read what she shares. Yeah, she's.
I really love Danu. I really love her. I mean, she brings so much above and beyond fragrance. A lot of culture, a lot of farming, a lot of sourcing material. Like she brings so much into her especially cultural historical background into her work on fragrance. I think that's really important and really special. So I like that. She has this really cool, very layered approach.
Yeah. She's great as well. I mean, I could just like scroll through, and it's funny who comes up. That it's like Instagram's kind of figuring out who I like to see, and of course, we have David here. And he posted about Rouad, which is the newest from Perfume de Pierre, which I have not sampled yet. I looked at the price for it. For Rouad, it is going 500.
Crazy. It's crazy.
What on earth? It must be something special then, huh?
Who knows? Oh, and Jonathan. I forgot from YouTube, Jonathan.
Yes. Yep. Definitely. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through. Folks in the chat, if you follow Instagram content creators, let us know who some of your favorites are. We'd like to hear.
We'd like to follow some new cool people. Please let us know.
Oh, I like Michelle as well, the Utopentograph. She has great photography too. I'm going to like that right now while we're live. This is the dorkiest thing right now. I'm scrolling through Instagram.
And I know I'm forgetting like a whole bunch of people. I just can't I put a list together, and I knew I was like, okay, when you suggested this idea a couple weeks ago before all the craziness
Yeah.
happened, I wrote a list, and there was like, I had like 50 people on that list. I have misplaced that list. It is somewhere in my house. So then I wrote a new list yesterday,
Yeah.
and I know I'm missing a whole bunch of people. There's just so many good content. There's so much good content out there if you know where to look. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's lofts from the wafts, or wafts from the lofts, but
Oh,
they
that's
haven't.
the Loft, yeah.
They haven't been posting much lately.
Yeah.
They haven't been, unfortunately, because they're so wonderful.
They're on hiatus. They're working on the other love that they both have, because they're both are they both organists?
I think they're both musicians. I know one is an organist for sure. I think the other one plays like a string instrument, but I'm not sure.
So I think that's what's been occupying their time for the past several months. Yes, our good friend Derek.
Oh my God, yes! Varanus. Rodari, of course, yes. He is absolutely hugely up there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For YouTube. YouTube. Well, he's on Instagram and YouTube, right? He does both. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, I cannot believe. I'm so sorry, Derek. You should have been top 3. I don't know where my mind is. Top 3 for me.
Derek and I are pals. You know, we're often we're texting back and forth to each other. You know, like, did you see what that person said on such a? You know, yeah. He's
I love the way his mind works, like on this broad historical, like this guy could be a college professor of fragrance, like on this big, huge, broad historical, like deep dives into things. I just like the way his mind puts together information. Like there's some channels, like when they're posting or when they're whatever, I like, because there's a lot of channels that I'll do work around the house while I'm listening or watching, and I can kind of do both at the same time, and it's no problem, and that's very normal, right, for watching a video or listening to a podcast. But when Derek comes on, I stop what I'm doing and I concentrate on what he's saying, because I don't want to miss anything, right? You're the same for you, JJ. When you have like a post, I really focus on it because I don't want to miss any of the information. There's very few people like that I really want to focus on like that, and he's definitely one of them, just because I really enjoy the way his mind works within the field. So yeah.
He's great for tying it all together. He's really good at tying it all together in terms of, what were the series of events that led up to that release? What was historically, culturally, socially relevant to the release? What happened in the duration of time after it's been released? And filling all of those gaps that a lot of people don't really discuss as much, because your average perfume reviewer just kind of want to talk to, which is great too. And I mean, I've been into this. You just talk about how it makes you feel and what it smells like to you and what it does for you, and recommend or discourage other people and stuff. But he's definitely more of, I think, he's a writer.
Yeah.
And I relate to that because I feel like I'm more, of a writer. I don't want.
Well, you're a poet, JJ.
Oh, please.
You are.
Oh, please.
I'm dead serious. You are.
Well, I think it's an acquired taste. Some people think I'm full of myself, though.
Not at all.
With my purple prose and my poetry and stuff. No, I try to make it a different experience for people to read. Oh, do you know who I'm inspired by? And this is another Instagram that I'm quite fond of, and that is illicium.verum.nova, Kashina.
I don't know this one.
Oh, look her up. Follow her like immediately. If you have your phone, you would.
How do you spell it?
So you should be able to find it under. It starts with illicium, ILLICIUM. ILLICIUM. I can put it in the chat for other folks.
Oh, thank you. I will look that up. I'm actually broadcasting from my phone, so I'll have to do it later. Like my computer ran out of batteries. I'm a mess.
She's a wordsmith, and it is what she does is very abstract, very stream of conscious.
Cool.
Stream of conscience kind of very meandering and just her descriptive ability is just so left field, but so wonderful. Very a lot of imagery. It's just great. She's awesome too. Oh God, hold on a second. I actually need to fix something on my computer. Thank you folks for bearing with me. All right, and I'm sending her name right here. Follow her, folks. That's Kashina. That's her Instagram name. So that's another great one. But poetry. Yeah, poetry is an acquired taste. Some people just think poetry is daft or, you know, snotty or something. I don't know.
Well, that's silly.
It's true. It's true. I've always loved poetry. I get a little bit more pregnant. I do get pragmatic sometimes with my writing. I try to be a little bit more, you know.
Well, yours is like scientific and poetic at the same time. That's really unique.
It kind of bridges the two of them sometimes, and other times I'm just sort of straightforward. But it's just how my brain works. I don't know. Occasionally I think about like, what are some ways that I could sort of develop my writing in other directions, and then I one part of my brain says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep doing it. I like your use of the cut of her jib, Bilbo. Beljar Bossis is a new account I just followed. I like the cut of her jib. Bilbo, I have to look this up. I'd like to see the cut of her jib. Beljar Bossis. So she's probably referring to Bossis from Serge Lutens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Yep. I am familiar with her. Shelby, like the car. Oh, cool. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now, Bilbo. Okay. That's too funny. Well, who else? Who else, folks? We have 19 people who are tuned in. Oh, here's also a PSA. So YouTube, for monetizing, I have about 1,500 subscribers now, and most of my monetizing is reliant upon ad revenue. Now, this ad revenue isn't, it's not breaking in the dough. Like for my most recent video, primarily, most of the views that I've had so far in the first 11 days of this month have been from my newest video, and then whatever else, people watch. And so we're 11 days in, and the amount of revenue that I have is $2.31. And you can only get a payout once you reach 100. So what I'm thinking to myself, if I only rely on ad revenue, and it took 11 days for me to earn $2.31, and that's because one video really kind of caught traction, it would take me a long time to make $100. So when we criticize people who really want to have some income from their YouTube channel, think about that. It's like you seriously have to be somebody who has a lot of views to make some money off of YouTube. So that's why some people, they do super chats. As far as how frequently they should ask for them, that's not for me to decide. It's, like, I get it, the hustle's the hustle. So we'll see how long it will take for me to make $100. Yeah, you have to reach $100 before they even do a payout.
Interesting.
So like, say if I actually hypothetically made like $96, I have to wait the next month, and I earn at least a minimum of $4, and then it would reach 100, and then they would do a payout, and you get it like on the 20th of the following month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that being said, if anybody does want to send me some super chats, feel free. It's there. Or super thanks. But that's yes, fireworks for that. Yep. That was perfect timing. Perfect timing. Na 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 na. That super chat, baby.
Baby super chat.
I actually heard, I was watching an old episode of Star Search because that's just how I roll. I end up on YouTube and I watch crazy shit like that. It was like an old episode of Star Search from January of 1984. What song was getting big in January 1984? Give It Up by KC. So the
Nice.
spokesmodel, do you remember Star Search? They would have spokesmodels.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like Tracy Ross, and she was like the spokesmodel, like the winners for like a month, like for like a whole season. So when they showed her, they started playing it. They started playing like "Give It Up, Give It Up." I was like cracking up. I'm like,
now it's like in our heads in this whole other way forever.
For chats now.
Yeah, forever it will be.
Years. But that super chat thing kind of forever changed it. It's funny.
Hey, I have a random question for you, JJ. Have you ever tried any fragrances by Floriku?
Floriku,
Yeah.
beautiful bottles. The caps on those bottles. But I haven't actually tried anything yet, and it looks like you have.
I have a sample set.
Sample set.
I have a sample set. It has Cricket Song, First Dream of the Year, Just a Rose, Young at Heart, I Am Coming Home, The Moon and I, My Shadow on the Wall, In the Rain, A.O., Owl, I'm not sure how to pronounce that one, Between Two Trees, Sleeping on the Roof. Yep. And it has all those samples. So
cool.
I've not tried them yet, but this is kind of one of my newest ones. Newest one in the mail, and comes with cool little packaging and little Floriku, what do you call them? The strips, scent strips.
Yeah, a scent strip.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious if I'm happy to pass along the set when I'm done with it, but I didn't know if you had any experience with them.
If you wouldn't mind, and I also, pardon me, I still need to send out a nice parcel to you. Remind me again. Have you?
When you have time. Sorry.
Oh, it will happen soon. I'm getting closer to it, and I have that bottle, the extra bottle of the surprise thing.
Oh, thank you.
Remind me again. Have you already tried Shiseido's Ennui?
No.
So that's going to be part of it.
Thank you.
Let's look at the chat here. Yeah, I was just looking at the bell jars, the Sylvia Plath reference for depressive. So I kind of wonder if she is integrating that, and also the fact that Bossus from Serge Lutens is a bell jar bottle.
Bell jar line. Yeah.
You should edit your vids with lives and hearts.
JJ, that's a really good idea to get more. I mean, if you have time. I mean, I know you work a lot, but if you have time, that would help with the views.
I thought about that. Yeah. And Jacob actually recommended that to me because it's a way of getting more views. Yeah. It's kind of like but the thing is, you have to make sure to download it, and there's like a short period of time they allow you to download it, so you have to do within like 24 hours. So that would be a matter of my having to remember to download it, and maybe I can remember to do it and start doing shorts and getting more views.
Yeah, you can make more from the same content.
Clear. Actually, technically they are preferred because I get the money faster. Because I want the money right away. Yeah, and also they take less out of it. They do take less out for Buy Me a Coffee. The percentage, AdSense has a larger percentage taken out than Buy Me a Coffee. So technically, yeah, I do prefer coffees, but then it's just annoying to have to wait like 100 years to get $100 from YouTube. So
yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, like if you want to send me a whole bunch of money, do it on Super Chats. If you want to send me smaller amounts, do it on Buy Me a Coffee. I don't know. So you get 100% of the coffee donations? I don't, but like I said, it's a smaller percentage than with AdSense. I forgot the difference, but it's enough of a difference that I prefer it. And also for, like I said, for Buy Me a Coffee, like the payout is a shorter period. It's like just a few days. Whereas with like YouTube, you just have to wait until you make 100. I'm guessing the money is more easily accessed. Yeah. Hey, Will, good to see you, my friend. Time is now 8:22 p.m. So, I also wanted to share 5 of my most exciting vintage
Mm.
well, not discoveries because I already knew about them before,
Yeah.
but the purchases that I did
Yeah.
in 23, I could do that. A couple of them I haven't even done reviews on yet. One of them I did a review on just last week, and that is Rouge de Lubin.
Mm.
I'll do like a zoomy for me here. Rouge de Lubin, and this was released in 1981. You can check out the review on Instagram. I posted it last week, and it's also on Base Notes and Fragrantica. And here's the bottle, which is like easily become one of my favorite bottles. And this was actually sealed, and I opened the seal, and it opens up to this. It's this translucent red case, and then you have this inside. This is the bottle that is sort of it's planted inside of it, and this is beautiful. So for anybody who enjoys like Derby or Patu Pomme or Equipage, it doesn't necessarily smell just like any of them, but it has just like that same sort of like refined character to it that um, has that lovely epicene base, that classic base that has been used. Guy Robert loved to use epicene base, but it's just like this mix of like clove and nutmeg and then some herbs in it too. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. I know, right? The cap. Look at that. Yeah, this unfortunately is a unicorn. I don't want I'm not going to expect people to drop everything, and it doesn't really come up very often. I don't think it was produced for a very long period of time, but yeah, this goes in the special reserve box of vintages for special occasions. Rouge de Lubin. It actually happens to be the only Lubin that I have in my collection, considering the brand has been around forever and then was resurrected. I didn't add anything else. There's really nothing else that really struck my fancy from Lubin. I almost thought about getting like a vintage of Gin Fizz, but considering that is a very citrusy fragrance, I figured it might be a little too risky to get a vintage of that. And then next is the one that I had mentioned to Rachel. I'll be sending her a sample of this. This is from Shiseido on We. This has easily become one of my favorite fragrances of all time, actually. And I do have a review of it. This is a beautiful coniferous pine jasmine green fougere. And that's Ennui. Rachel's still with us, by the way. I'm just doing the bottle show and tell, giving her a little break while I'm doing this. But look at this bottle too. I mean, there's a fetishism for just like the whole, the bottles, the boxes, this artifact. Just magical smelling stuff. Shiseido had some gorgeous, gorgeous, like nuanced creations. And from what I know, the Japanese market fragrance, they don't really, in the culture, they don't really want loud and bombastic fragrances. So a lot of what Shiseido would release would be more suited to, the culture. Like, for example, Murasaki from Shiseido is sort of like a more subdued, beautiful watercolor kind of Chanel number 19. Chanel number 19. So everything sounds weird when I'm saying. That's Ennui. Chanel number 19 is wonderful too. Oh, here's another one. Alice from Gle. Alice. Alice is actually who founded. Alice Gle founded Gle. And here's the bottle for Alice. Bitter, bitter, bitter. I love my bitter sheep rose. This is like another bitter, piney galbanum, rosemary, Artemisia craziness. Good stuff. It's another one that I acquired last year. Review forthcoming. Stay tuned for the review. And another great French house, Little Chat, Parfum Little Chat. This is Audace. Audace is a parfum de toilette of Audace. Look at these, oh my God, these bottles. Look at that globe. This one is so silky. It's like a silky velour, green, violet leaf, iris, powdery. It's just, it's divine. Puff. This is a nice one. I'll put a little bit on me and watch the pressurized sprayer. Watch this. Let me align it. Align, please. Okay, here we go. Ooh, did you hear that and see it? Those pressurized sprayers, they can fool around. I just killed a little bit of the ozone layer right now. Oh my God. It's kind of ashy too, like wild stuff. And the fifth one, a lovely guerdon. This is Nestlé Chamade. This is pretty bottle box. Look at the pattern. Look at this pattern on the box. Yes. And then it opens up. Make sure to open it up properly without having it fall out and break on me, and then I'll boo-hoo. I'll have a nervous breakdown.
Wow.
Pretty.
Beautiful.
Pretty. Little. That's right. And it still smells golden. Luckily. It's my Chamade. And I'll do a review on the Estray. I have the Eau de Toilette, and now I have the Estray. So I'll put this right there, right in your comfy, snuggly little bed, and back you go. So those are 5 vintage purchases from 2023 that made me very happy. I look at just those 5, and it's like, where do I really go from there? You know, it's like, what else do I really need? It's like, you know, I reached such a great height with my collection. It's just kind of like, now it's just kind of like overkill. It's like, where, you know, what else do I really need?
I hope to get to that point one day. I'm still terrible about buying bottles.
You'll get there. You'll realize you'll get there when you look at credit card bills, when you look at like all the space that it's taking up, when you have those existential crises where you're like, I'm never going to be able to enjoy all of this. Yeah. You'll get there. Don't worry. Okay. Oh, Claire, you enjoyed Audace, and yeah. It was popular for a while. I don't know why they discontinued it after such a short period of time. And I love the EDT of Chamade. In fact, I have a more modern version of the EDT, and I think it's stellar. And we know that, Mishu, we know that we do. We're kindred with that. We love it's great. Yeah. I think, Claire, maybe you were referring to either the bottle of Rouge or the bottle of Ennui. Both of them are really striking bottles. Hey, Christy, I hadn't had a chance to jump on the live streams and watch you folks during the week because work has been. This is a very busy period for our work, so I don't really have very much downtime. I never get to see Persole's live streams because I'm too busy during the day. But I hope to join you guys if you do something maybe in the evening or on the weekend, if I'm free on the weekend.
So I've lucked out on that so far. most of the time, Personalize's live streams happen to be right on my lunch.
Oh, nice.
I've been really lucky. I hope he never changes the time. But so vintage, I've if you don't mind me jumping in just for a sec, I've been breaking out a lot of Ralph Lauren lately. So I have like this old bottle of Tuxedo, which is really cool. It's like you're saying, that beautiful kind of bitter chypre, like big green, gentleman type of fragrance.
Yeah.
And then, like Safari, I always have Safari for men and women around. I love them both. I've had this Lauren, the EDT, which is really nice. And then that kind of led me to pull out this bad guy, Arctic Capucci, because sometimes I just need to bathe in oak moss, basically.
So, I would say that, like, that is one of, at least in the top 3 most oak moss heavy fragrances that I am aware of. But then that was Jean's Paris, the one that I shared, I think it was like the beginning of last week.
Yeah.
That oak moss, oh my God, that's not for the faint of heart.
I'm dying to try that. I've never even heard of it before you shared.
It is, I'll get the bottle. Hopefully I don't screw up my setup here, because every time I get up, I seem to do that. Hold on, folks. I'll be right back.
And let's see. So I have another thing I've been wearing recently is Chicken. I think I'm saying that correctly. Apologize if I'm not. Chicken by Giacomo, and which is really nice. It has like tea, cedar, ylang, mousse de chêne, which is, I've been really craving that mousse de chêne kind of thing lately. I don't know why in the middle of winter I'm craving oak moss and mossiness. It's got rose, it's got some muguet, it's got some jasmine, some vetiver, stuff like that. So it's a great, lovely little scent. So I've been kind of in this world a little bit lately at home. Again, I think it's because we went through such a traumatic event. We had a school shooting in the suburbs of my city. And, in the education profession, we're all quite connected, regionally. And so I think I just dove back into those chypres, which are my love, my home base, my emotional fortitude fragrances. So, and I've been really enjoying wearing them.
So, folks, I just realized, like, I'm just using my internal microphone, but it's been sounding okay, right? Without using the external one? Okay, perfect. Because I don't even want to bother with it right now. I have a new one that's coming up pretty soon. Yeah, you were just mentioning this. I have the Giacomo Chican.
That looks amazing.
Yeah, this is the cube. So I'll open up the cube.
How did you find it? Did you find it online?
I did. It was on eBay.
And have you heard of it before, or did you see it and then look it up, or?
Yeah, well, I was doing research on pretty much every Giacomo release, and I knew that it was like one of the first or the first release. I have Sondela as well, which also came in a cube and also the cylindrical bottle. Yeah. Here's the
cool.
Pardon the fingerprints, jeez.
It's fine. No, it's amazing. I need more cubes in my collection. I have no cubes.
I know. Oh, it's Giacomo Chican, and then you can see that right on the top.
That's awesome.
Mirrored, yeah. Nice, and they, they're only splashes, but yeah, I've learned to love the splashes. Like just decanter, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Iconic looking bottle. And you were mentioning the Arctic Capucci. I also have mine in a splash, and I love the classic triangular bottle, the same one that Capucci Porom.
Yeah, very cool.
Here's here are the Capucci.
Nice. It's like that dark green glass, like almost brown green. Yeah. Man, it smells good, doesn't it?
Ooh, yeah, that it's like that triumvirate of vetiver, patchouli, and oak moss, just all.
Yeah. They'll
Wow.
put hair on your chest.
Put a tiger in your tank. And then, and this is the one I was talking about, the ultimate aggressively gothic and like just primal kind of oak moss. This is
Wow.
like this is marketed to men, I believe, and this is like I don't even know like
That is so cool, man.
this exists. And here's the bottle of Regence oak moss. Here,
That's awesome.
this stuff is. Oh my God! Like I said, you can't be namby-pamby when it comes
That's
to this.
amazing.
It is ferocious. It is just like I'm not gonna, like if you've smelled like pure oak moss absolute,
Yeah.
it's funny how people they claim to love oak moss, but then if they were to smell oak moss absolute,
Yeah.
they're like, this is the stuff that I love.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, if you really want to know something that, like, if you want a fragrance, I mean, here I am. I'm hyping this up. This is not right. I'm like totally torturing people because this is like rarer than rocking horse shit. But like, if you were to want a perfume that where the oak moss is in front of everything else, there are not many that exist, and this is one of them.
That is awesome. One day I need to try that. One day.
We'll arrange to have you experience it. I'll make sure of that.
Thank you. You're amazing.
As I'll tell you, this has actually a screw-off atomizer, so I
Oh,
can
nice.
a little bitty amount because that's all you need.
Yeah, yeah. No, not a lot for sure. Just a little time. Just a once,
All
Yeah.
you need because it's potent as hell.
Just
You
to
can just
satisfy the curiosity.
have it for reference.
Yeah.
There's also another one in this. This house is really mysterious. And according to John People, who enlightened me to this, this was just sort of sold in like shops, like it's just sort of like, a no frills perfume brand. And it had a whole line. There's one that's like a lavender one, and another one that's like a citrus, and another one that's this and that. And they have a leather one that's supposed to be really good as well. And then they have oak moss. I mean, there are not too many fragrances out there that are just pretty much that straightforward. And they're just like, yep, here you go. Here's your oak
It is
moss.
what it is. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's lovely stuff. Shiny. Yeah, you were probably talking about the Giacomo Chican. The cube is very shiny. Mossy. Yeah, Arctic Capucci's really mossy. We know our moss is the good stuff. Yes. I'm like loopy. I'm in rare form. I've been like this for a while since getting over COVID. I guess this is my version of long COVID. I just sort of kind of lost my mind. But yeah. But I know that oak moss isn't the be all end all too. I like oak moss, but I definitely have long moved on from thinking that the absence of oak moss or the reduction of oak moss or this or that was the death of perfumery and all that garbage.
For sure. Yeah. I have my moments when I want it, like other materials. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I always will say that if somebody wants like another really oak moss heavy fragrance is Sheep Mousse from Maurice Lecomte.
Yeah.
And I've said this before that is testament to the fact that you don't necessarily need to look at pre-restrictions to be able to have some serious oak moss presence in a modern perfume, because whatever they did, whether it's using patchouli and vetiver and Evernil and tree moss or whatever else, whatever kind of brilliant alchemy that the perfumer incorporated, they were really able to push that oak moss accord forward. And that's also an important thing to point out too, because a lot of these are accords.
Yeah.
And like for an accord, you don't necessarily need to have just that material. actually accords often involve several materials. So that's pretty much how it's done. If that's the effect that you want. So in the face of a restriction where you can only use a small percentage, that's how you do it. And it's been done with many other types of notes. There's another example to me is like there's Costus. People talk about how Costus, was banned, it was restricted. There's Costus replacers that to me, and I know I'm very familiar with like Costus oil that smell almost exactly like real Costus oil. And, Costus as a note is not dead either. That's another example. Lily of the Valley, their innovation.
Oh, yeah.
Where, in the absence of using lilial and lyrol and restrictions on hydroxycitronol, et cetera, that new technologies have enabled us to make these materials that work just as well. It's a matter of, whether or not the perfume, there's a budget for it, all these things you got to keep in mind, Evernol and Veramos are the same, correct? Yes, because they have two different brand names depending upon two different producers. Like one, I can't memorize who's making one, who's making the other. One's from an itch, the other one is Simmeries or. yeah, they're pretty much the same thing, Veramos and Evernol. Time is now 8:44. I think we'll stay on for, another 20 minutes or so here. If anybody does want to send a coffee, that's cool with me. I'm not really pushing the matter too much, but this is such a casual effluvium because we don't have to fast. We're just
my son just brought me cereal and
to
fix it. I apologize. Oh no.
Uh-oh. Was there a little disaster?
We've had a little accident. I'm sorry. I'm just going to pick this up really quick. I apologize.
That's okay. I'll have you take care of that. So, if there's any vintage who are in the chat, what were some of your acquisitions from 2023 that your favorites that you added to your collection of vintage? Cookie Tomatoes, hey, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Nick is wearing
dogs aren't allowed here.
And you love the use of Costus in it. Yeah, that's an example of Costus that was done very well. I'm kind of interested in, I'm fascinated with how the reconstructions are made. Like what enabled the replacer to smell exactly like Costus root? I was actually thinking of doing a video on Costus because it's just, it turns out it's actually probably one of my favorite notes because there's so many perfumes that I enjoy that really have it in the foreground. There's another one that I recently picked up, Fidel, from Nina Ricci, which is this amber chypre hybrid from I believe it was released in the 50s. And that actually has like Costus in the dry down, like really up front. Good stuff. I'll bring you back here.
Sorry about that. My son just woke up from his nap and I needed to fix him a little dinner. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Chris mentions that KL Femme and Isatis are the favorite additions added here. Lovely choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Isatis. Yeah.
KL Femme is a really nice amber. It's kind of to me, it's kind of like a cross between Cinnabar and Mousse de Cartier, but with its own feel. With it, it's not just like, it has its own kind of feel to it. It's nice stuff. Yeah, I'll do a Costus video. I'll mention my favorites that have Costus, because you know what, that's a good strategy too for YouTube. Yeah. Like nobody's done a Costus video. Hopefully nobody's stealing my idea right now. I'm planning on doing a Costus. But I thought like, hey, I can be the first You know, for all those people who are looking for a video on Costas and Perfume, you know, Beast Mode Costas, Costas Panty Droppers, Costas Powerhouses. That, you know what? Actually, the Costas heavy fragrances are actually true panty droppers. They're just so like they're just so sensuous and carnal. They smell like, you know, hair and skin and sweat and bodies. Gilot from Rogue has a beautiful Costas note. Keep that in mind. Try to get a sample for Gilot. Rogue is another brand that I haven't really explored much of. I know he's been around for a long time, and he's very well appreciated. Pat Lester, Mitsuko, and Vetiver, both EDT, are two vintages that I added to my collection that I really like. Wonderful additions. Ellena always, classic Ellena are always great additions. Very nice.
Okay. I'll be there really soon.
Amber cinnamon. I really enjoy the one that I do have a bottle of in my collection is Kaelon, which is a cinnamic, resinous, kind of reminds me of Tolu balsam in the dry down. That's a nice one. The the what do you call that when there's like a male version? I know that there's like a word for that because it's not really a flanker. There's like another word that's used when like there's like a parent, which is like usually the woman's version, and then they'll do like a men's version. I think Anuj told me what the term is. I wish Anuj was around, he could tell us. But it's just that there's like a word for like the original, and then they'll do like the one for women or the one for men.
I didn't know there was a. I'm sure there must be a technical term. I just don't know what it is. I would just call it like a masculine, right? Or feminine.
No, I think it's called. I don't think it's like master brand or something. I know it's like a technical term. Like you have the original brand, and then it'll have like the one for men. Like there's so many examples of that. Rive Gauche, Rive Gauche Sporon, and KL and KL and Quartz, Quartzum, and so on and so forth. Quartzum is actually going to be given to one of my lucky four full bottle samples. I have an extra bottle of Quartzum that I'm going to be sending to somebody.
Wow, lucky.
Maybe that could be Bilbo. Who knows? Because Bilbo has one on the way. And I could still do another one. So if you were to, I don't know, buy me 12 coffees, I have some more I have some doubles that I'm looking to.
And you guys, these kind of vintage bottles that have been kept in such perfect condition are hard to come by. So this is like super value. And like 10 years from now, you're going to be like, damn, why didn't I enter that?
Resell them. You probably make a profit off of it because I just don't have time to sit around selling. Like like you could probably like, well, this one out of the 4 I don't really like. Let me just put it on eBay, and you probably make like half your money back or all of it or more. You know, like that's one way of looking at it. The original Quartz is lovely. It's grand. I'll get the bottle of that. I know exactly where it is. It's in sort of like the same wheelhouse as Cristal from Chanel or Diorella. But it isn't just like an also ran. It's not like a Me Too. I mean, I guess you could call it that, but it has its own character to it. There's a Quartz. Now, I'm going to get all nerdy for people who are like, you know, all about this kind of stuff. Like, if you really want to have like the best version of it, try to go with the one that just says Quartz Molyneux, not Quartz Femme. So the ones that have Quartz Femme are the bottles that were released after Quartz Homme because they wanted to make the distinction. But I mean, that's just hearsay. I don't really know. I haven't smelled the ones that are Quartz Femme. They could smell lovely, but somebody told me then. I just ran with it, and I got an older version that just says Quartz on the box. There's the bottle. Another iconic bottle.
Yeah.
There's like a vortex on. It's like a whirlpool. It's like a vortex on top. Ooh, and there's like another one at the bottom.
Cool.
Lovely. Like a green unripe melon cantaloupe kind of thing. Like a just like a really beautiful, beautiful 70s chypre.
Lovely. You know, I have a sample of that somewhere that I need to smell that I got from someone that I need to, it's on my list to experience, like, you know, sit down and take notes. And so maybe I'll do that sooner rather than later.
It's so fragile. I would be so heartbroken if I dropped it. This beautiful top here. But the thing about quartz Molyneux quartz is not for a vintage version. It wouldn't really be a ton of money.
Yeah.
It's not like some of these that have gone out of control as far as pricing for like a vintage. So that's something to keep in mind. Nice to see you too, Christy. We'll chat more soon. Yes, indeed. And yeah, I was just told to get the virgin before it said quartz. You know, the usual BS that people share with each other about this stuff. You know, the same thing as like, you know, look for the look at this. It must not be that old because it has a barcode.
Oh, interesting.
But it's lovely. I don't go by that stuff. You know what? It's just old enough that it's probably the best version that I can possibly get before getting one that's too old.
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Too
Yes,
old.
I do. Yeah.
There's like that sweet spot where it isn't
Yes.
too old, but it's a version that probably is when it was at its best.
Absolutely. It's wonderful.
Right. Ingredients. I'll do the usual. See the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
The ingredients, yeah, they're just you know, it was around the time that there weren't these regulations in place to list potential allergens. So take that as you will. It's all this fun stuff. It's 8:54. All that matters is you love it. Exactly. And there was a great thread that was on Base Notes about chasing. What is it? Was it called Chasing Shadows? I think that's what it was called, right, Nick? And I don't. Do you ever go to Base Notes, Rachel?
I do. Not as much as I should, but I do. Yes.
But there's a great discussion that somebody brought up about, you know, the obsession with, you know, feeling like you're missing out on something that was like the superior version and you know, discontinued and reformulations and everything. It was a really good, a very civil conversation as well. And I'd recommend checking it out.
Oh, thank you. I will. Yeah, because man, that mental emotional thing that is so active in FragCom, and it's something to deal with. Yeah, for us who love this art, this hobby.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can make it a little bit more stressful than it needs to be. And you know, there's some important things to keep in mind when we're discussing doing comparisons with vintages versus newer formulations. There's so much subjectivity behind it, and usually one person made a really good point, and I forgot who it was. If you share like a close bond with a certain version of something, and you have so much association with it, and you really bond with that fragrance, you know, and for some of us who are fragrance enthusiasts who don't seem to really have enough time to do that because we're not the average person who can. So you're not really so concerned about smelling an older version. You're probably going to just think to yourself, well, you know, that one isn't the one that I love. The one that I love is the one that I've been wearing.
Yeah.
So that was some food for thought that I thought was great. And also, you know, keeping in mind, our perceptions are really what drive it all. our perceptions of how something smells can also be affected by the power of suggestion as well. Yeah. It is suggested that the older version is better, so we're going to convince ourselves by smelling it that it's better. But if we remove ourselves from that and smell it again and smell it a couple times, and if you have the newer one to compare, you may be surprised to find that it's not always the case, and you might actually enjoy the one that's newer.
Absolutely, 100%.
Newer version may have some certain may still have some certain critical elements to that perfume that are lost to age, and you enjoy it for those critical elements. So
Definitely.
yeah.
And that's definitely something to keep in mind as we are sampling and purchasing, and definitely don't get too carried away with FOMO. And I apologize, JJ. My son is having a little bit of a meltdown. I'm so sorry. I think I really need to go and help my husband and see what's going on. I think he's getting really cranky.
Do you think you may be able to come back in a few?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I just know he's having a meltdown and throwing toys and screaming.
Well, let's take care of that, Rachel. It's wonderful as always. And we will see you again for the next Effluvium. We'll be scheduling that soon. All right.
Thank you, JJ. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Ooh, I was just hearing the beginning of that meltdown, too. I just heard that. Ready for my rash and possibly COVID. Context needed there. Chasing Shadows, yes. I thought that was a really great thread. And more discussions like that need to be had. I think there's just been so much discussion on, I don't know, the fetishism of vintages in a way that, like, I don't think it was really ever quite the case, maybe in certain forums and circles and stuff, or what have you. But I think that a lot of people, it's good that some people are kind of, coming to their senses and realizing, like, I need to be more pragmatic about this than dogmatic. To quote something that Pep mentioned recently in one of his videos that I thought was great on discontinued fragrances. And I thought that was really good for him to point out, there can be a dogma behind it where people are convinced that is the only authentic way to appreciate fragrance and have a say, have a voice in discussing fragrances if you are aware of that truth, that so-called truth that A, B, C, and X, Y, Z have, they've been reformulated into oblivion, and the only way you can enjoy it is if you have some sort of batch or some sort of year. It just makes me feel like I just want to say, blow it out your ass. I'm just exhausted from it. FOMO is a big thing in this community, I should know, because I fall victim to it, and so do I. And then I also realize that I'm also feeding into it too. It's like I also, I think about trying to be conscientious and how I'm sharing my appreciation for something, especially when it's vintages. Like, I always want to kind of throw in, like, yes, I have this, like, really cool, shiny, fancy, rare perfume, but this doesn't necessarily mean that I need it or I needed to get in there. It's just my own sort of, like, pathological need to collect things that I don't really, like, expect anybody else to have, and it's fun. And I don't know if somebody were to ask me, like, do I need that? Like, no, you don't need any of it. In reality, all of it is, just fun material possessions to help distract us from, the things in life that maybe are a little bit more difficult. And it's a matter of our keeping that in check so that it doesn't consume us and doesn't end up being, such a huge force in our lives that we're consuming time and money and forsaking, relationships and friendships and quality of life over it. You know, when you start noticing that, then that's a problem. And you realize your relationship is on the rocks, and you know your significant other is telling you you're spending way too much on fragrance. You're talking way too much about it. You're spending way too much time online. You're making all these videos, and you're not spending time with me and your kids. So yeah, vintage does not mean better. No, it absolutely does not. And I would never. No, if vintage is complicated, it's like a complicated relationship. It's one that you have to work on, and it isn't always successful. A lot of times, like I said, it's like really heartbreaking. So, you know, if you want to, you have to ask yourself, like, what is my intention here? And like, I love perfume, but where do I want to go with this? Do I just want to just enjoy wearing it and using it? Then I don't know, just be happy with like samples of vintages. Don't bother, you know, don't don't feel like there's some pressure for you to be a more authentic enthusiast. Like also intention involves like what is your like, do you plan to make content? Like, and if you plan to make content, what do you hope to get out of it? And what do you hope to give to other people? You know? Like I do like one video or one live stream a week, and I feel like if I did much more than that, it would be overkill. Um, and I just feel like it's just more that makes the time more valuable with other fragrance enthusiasts if I do it this way. And it makes me look forward to it. I don't end up getting kind of like burnt out with it. I don't know. I just can't, I just don't understand people who are doing it like every day. Like it's tough for me to even, I don't know, share things on social media every day. And I feel like, wow, this is kind of exhausting. And often newer formulations are easier to wear regularly. Yeah, that's true. They're easier to wear regularly. You feel like a little bit less anxiety of having this precious juice that is, you know, scarce, and it takes all the stress out of it. Just like enjoy it. Just, you know, stop worrying so much about whether or not you have, you know, the ideal item in your possession. You know, would we want to feel like if only we had like a fancier automobile and lived in a more affluent neighborhood and had, you know, I don't know. It's sort of like the same idea. It ends up being kind of like this another product of like late stage capitalism where you just have things for the sake of, you know, consumption and material possessions. Yeah, yeah, COVID has really kind of given me, you know, some insight, I guess. And one of my resolutions as well is to kind of, you know, wind down on the collecting and focus my energy on sort of like exploring more and, explorations of fragrance outside of the usual discussion of, you know, what does this smell like, and here's this review, and here's this. Yeah, I really appreciate delving into sort of like the ontology of fragrance and philosophy, and sort of breaking it down to the bare elements. That's why I love to do those the streams that focus on the materials, like the ones that I've been doing, because then what you do is you kind of peel back the layers, and it's not just like this final product. You get to discuss and explore and understand and gain some insight on what is behind the final product. I think that stuff is really fascinating. It's like a major flex, and it's just getting so tiresome. It is getting so tiresome, and I just don't want to be part of it. And I feel like even when I'm like showing like my favorite vintage purchases of 2023, You know, I just don't want to feel like I'm adding to that. I just hope that I come off in a way that isn't so, you know, like look at what I have. Because I don't know. I don't know if that's really a good look. So we have 15 people tuned in. I'm just chilling out with you folks right now. If there's anything that you want to discuss, you have any questions, you have any observations, is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Were there some things about 2023 in the fragrance world that ticked you off, that bugged you, um, that you wish changed or will change in 2024 and beyond? It would be cool to kind of get some of your thoughts on that sort of stuff. I'm going to mute for a second. I still have that residual cough, but I'll read your comments. And Mishi says, JJ, do you have the impression that vintage perfumes and pressurized bottles retain their scents? Well, ooh, I'm still smelling the audace. Yeah, that really depends. Like, I'm kind of freaked out by pressurized bottles. Like, I kind of wonder if sometimes like they've been affected by the pressurized bottles because of the what is used. If it sullies the top notes and you get kind of like this weird chemical kind of smell over time. So I don't know. I think it really depends, just like any bottle of perfume, how well it's been stored and preserved and taken care of, and barring any sort of an inevitable degradation over time. Um, there is a possibility that the mechanism in the butane or whatever, I don't think it's butane. That would be really, I know it's a flammable, but I forgot what the material is used for pressurizing, but that there's rumors that it can affect certain bottles. Mangino says, hello. Nice to see you in 2024 as well. Happy New Year. Nick sounds like Nick has been pretty successful with his pressurized bottles, which is good. Um, I don't have a ton, to be fair, because a lot of vintages, like I end up and getting the splashes anyways. I find them to be more affordable, typically, not always. But yeah, the ones that I do have, I can't really complain. They sure are fun to spray, right? 19 people tuned in. We're at 9:09 p.m. here at Effluvium. Rachel had to part ways with us to handle a bit of a temperamental young boy. But she'll be back with us for the next Effluvium. So yeah, 2023. What are some trends that really bugged the hell out of you? You know what really bugged the hell out of me is the idea of pistachio and not the reality of pistachio and fragrance, because all these pistachios that kept coming up did not really smell like pistachio. That Kayali one smelled horrendous. I like the idea of pistachio being somewhere. I think that Hermes one had pistachio, and that was actually one where it did kind of smell like pistachio. I will give it that. But there was also just a little bit of dissonance in it that just I couldn't get past. And Bilbo says, I hate to see the divide. Can you elaborate on that, the divide, if you may? Oh, I should probably read in chronological order. Let's get down to it. Will the fracture with Ram and Mitch ever be healed? I seriously don't know the details, but for some reason I know it's a thing. Ooh, some hot goss in the house here. Hot goss. Ram and Mitch are in the outs. Dish it, dish it, dish it out. I know that Mitch and I are still in the outs, and I really just I don't have any hard feelings toward him. It's unfortunate. I think it was like one of the more unfortunate moves for me to even be as outspoken as I was. But in that one fateful live stream, I really didn't have Rich Mitch in mind, so I'm a little bummed out. But I don't lose sleep over this shit because I don't know any of these people personally. Just it is what it is. It's a little embarrassing being raked through the coals by somebody on a live stream, but
this isn't the real world. But that's unfortunate to hear about the two of them. I thought that the two of them were a crew and they were pals, and they're not really in my orbit. I hope, Bilbo, you're not making that up. 24 people tuned in. I like how, curiously enough, the viewership increased. Yeah, I think that people end up having petty arguments over things. Like, I know I ended up being involved in stuff like that. It's so silly. Over things that are just, I don't know. I just really mostly have other things on my mind. I think that there was like a really big trend of fragrance live streams, and it's really kind of petered out. Like, this is one of the few that I think really are still happening. Maybe Pep does them occasionally. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention. Oh, between the two of us, I hear stuff in their streams, and I hear stuff in their. I don't know. I really just like. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't partially responsible for it. I think I was just way too outspoken and opinionated, and I probably could have stood to, been a little bit more, gracious about things. Yeah. I mean, if they're still talking about this stuff, that's kind of weird too. I mean, it's kind of old news. like really? I don't know. People are going to be opinionated. I've been opinionated. Other people have been opinionated. People have a right to their opinion. We don't have any obligation, to people, who aren't really, people whom we have close relationships with. There's no contract between all of us to ingratiate ourselves to other people in this community. But at the same time, like, I think there is something to be said to be tactful and considerate. So yeah, I didn't know that there was still conversations on the live streams about me, but like I said, like I have no hard feelings on it, and I don't really. So that's my thoughts on that. Yeah. I think I'm starting to run out of steam here. It's been a little over 2 hours. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just fragrance. Egos get in the way of it. Egos, insecurities. I think that sometimes people have a difficult time being criticized and getting feedback. And that's what can kind of cause things to devolve. I think that certain conflicts may involve somebody who might have good intentions, and then the other person takes them the wrong way and misinterprets it and overreacts to it, and they're generally a reactive person, and then they have a trend of doing that to pretty much anyone who is, who has an opinion or corrects or criticizes or gives feedback or whatever. And I don't know. I think that people need to keep that in check too. Like, who are the perfumers that are invited? Who are the next perfumers that are invited to the live stream? Thank you. On a more positive note, I don't have any perfumers in mind, but I would like to line up more. I think that we should showcase more, especially indie perfumers. I would love to get perfumers who are, master perfumers in the industry as well, if they're willing. To have discussions with them in the future. That would be a delight. A delight? Listen to me. That would be a delight. It would be delightful. I would like to know if anybody has any suggestions for guests in Effluvium for 2024. So we were talking earlier, Rachel and I, about having some of our guests from last year and year prior return as panelists. But you know, if there are other people that you'd like to see on the Effluvium live stream, who do you think would be valuable contributors who would have a lot of great things to say? I'd like to hear what you would suggest. Is that what Bilbo's doing? He's stirring up the trouble. He's causing a little drama. This is not typical territory for that. I try to keep that out of this space, out of this safe space. It's a safe space. You don't allow that kind of nonsense, that funny business. She can smell it if he wants. You can call me. Building the bridges, rebuilding the bridges that have been burned. I feel like you just kind of gotta let sleeping dogs lie and let it sort out on its own, you know? I mean, I don't know if you can repair certain things, and then you just have to kind of accept it. Jesus, should I sign off now? I don't want. I think that's my cue. I think that's my cue to sign off, unless somebody can steer it in another direction. Bilbo, behave. I'm without a rudder right now as far as where I want to go with discussion, if I'm going to be staying on for much longer. So if anybody wants me to sit here and continue talking, you have to give me some things to talk about or questions, or else I'm just going to call it a night. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to chime in, and if there's nothing that's exciting to me, then I will bid you all adieu. I'll start playing the outro music for Effluvium, because this is technically an Effluvium episode. Pat Lister says, a good indie perfumer to suggest is Chris Rusak. I'll keep that in mind. I'll make a note of it. I've heard great things about him. Thank you. Anybody else? What are the biggest disappointments I bought last year? Well, I try not to buy something that ends up being a disappointment. There's plenty of disappointments that I've sampled. Something I bought that turned out to be disappointment. Well, thankfully, all of the blind buys that I did, I was pleased with. So I will say that. All of them, not many. Not that many. You can count them on two hands, which is more than what anybody should do anyways. But a lot of disappointments as far as releases that I've received samples of, and I've done some reviews for them. Sure is. You said it. Fernando, hi. You're reaching the tail end of this stream. I'm kind of running on fumes here. And Rachel was with us earlier. We discussed our honorable mentions outside of our top 10s for 2023. We talked about some of our favorite content creators, specifically Instagrammers, YouTubers. I shared some of my favorite vintage additions to my collection that I purchased in 2023. Nick S says, I'm definitely getting a full bottle of Pistol. This is wonderful stuff. It is. Pistol's great. Marie's Feuille. Another great one that was in my top 10 for last year. Feuille. I always have difficult times with those words that have the double L's in French. A Piece is my third one that I love from her. Bilbo, stop it. "25 people tuned in. This is the most that have been tuned in, and we're 2 hours in. Really, a piece was too intense for you? That, I hear you. I don't think there's anything strange about that. I think there is sort of an intensity to it. I think it is an intensity that appealed to me, but yeah, that's fine. Thank you to Bilbo for buying a coffee. Thanks. I've one coffee. Thank you very much. Yeah, you should watch the replay, especially the first hour and a half. I'm just sort of chilling out for a little bit, running, I don't know, for maybe another 10 minutes or so here, shooting the breeze because Rachel had to leave and tend to a child who needed her care. So she left a little while ago. Anybody else? Oh, here's one for the people who are tuned in. For those who have been past panelists on Effluvium, who were some of your favorites? Who would you like to see return as guest panelists? I'd like to hear your choices for that. Oh, I can't keep track of all of the responses that are coming in, which tells me, what is this? You should do half-hour AMAs? Wait, Nick, pardon my ignorance. AMAs? AMAs, all I could, American Music Awards? Wait, what's AMAs? I'm probably gonna feel like an idiot once you tell me. Half-hour AMAs. I think now's about the time to get that theme music going. We're gonna start. My board, I think. So we're gonna have another Effluvium in 2 weeks. The guest panelist is to be announced, but we'll keep you folks in the loop as to who the next guest panelist will be. Well, Ask Me Anythings, half-hour Ask Me Anythings. Christophe Ladamiel, yeah, we'll see if we can get him to come back. I think he'd be agreeable to that decision. Keep going. Send me money, and I'll keep going. That's the only motivation I have right now. I've said everything that needs to be said for another couple of weeks. Well, actually, next week I'm going to be doing the next Notes and Chords live stream. So that will probably be next Thursday, and the next one is going to be tobacco. You know how much we love tobacco. I know I do. I'm going to be going over all of the different raw materials, natural, synthetic, that go into tobacco notes and chords, and I'll be sharing selections from the collection that tobacco. So that will be next Thursday, Notes and Chords, tobacco live stream here on my YouTube channel, and then the following. And then the week after that, I'll average. And that one is either a pasta video or a wine-differous fragrances video. So stay tuned for that. I hope that landed out. I love him. Yes, I agree. And Scentland too, the land of scent. And a new mic for better sound quality. Yeah, my mic just shit the bed, so I'm not using it tonight. We will be making sure of that. All right, folks, take care. I'll see you again soon. All right, bye-bye now.